Hi, beautiful souls, and welcome back to this week's episode of Soul Conversation. And today I have a guest with me from UK that I met a couple of years ago. And Mark Septhon, for me, has a big heart, a big purpose. And I'm just really delighted to have you here because you're going to introduce yourself, Mark, but welcome.
Yeah, it's good to be here. I think it's always nice to be the other side of the mic, obviously hosting 3 different podcasts. I also like to
Yep.
be able to share too, because I do have my own business with my own clients that fundamentally are in the visibility space where people are wanting to be seen and heard. I think a lot of my work that I do has been the blueprint of my own probably childhood, teenage years, and young adult years. Was bullied at school, and I think that's a big part as to why I help people have a voice and give people a platform. Because from a young age, I know what it was like to not kind of be in with the crowd and to not kind of be the cool kid.
Yeah.
And I think, voice for me is something really important. And I think that over the years, a lot of our challenges are actually the result of, I call it emotional self-harm. I think when you've gone through trauma, and we all can relate to this, we all talk about all the time about our childhood experiences, right? I think when you've had a difficult childhood, sometimes it takes a while to play out a different narrative.
Yeah.
And I think, when it comes to visibility, I always talk to people about who do you see before somebody else sees you? Because it's in those quiet moments, it's in those moments behind closed doors where you're not producing, you're not creating, you're not building, you're not networking. It's that inner place of your relationship with you, which is going to be, for me, the reason why you shine or you're dull. And it's about that inner relationship with yourself. And it all comes from those younger years, and then how we actually decide to agree with those or actually change the narrative. And I've found that over the years, most of my emotional trauma has really been the result of me taking responsibility for other people's behavior or actually their lack of healing, rather than actually being about my value, about my worth, about who I am.
Yeah.
It's people's inability to actually sit with themselves and to heal and to grow. And that's why healing is so important, because it's not just about you, it's also about those that you're connected with. And this is really a lot of the work that I do outside of interviewing, thousands of people across radio, TV, and podcasting.
Thank you so much. And I also agree, of course, like the more we get to know ourselves, the more space we can hold as well, and being present.
Absolutely. I'm a
People
big
around us.
believer that you can't lead anybody from anywhere you haven't come from yourself.
Yeah.
That's the exciting thing, I think, about when life is a bit shit. None of us want to suffer. None of us really want to go through the agony. And I'm probably one of the most impatient people on the planet, though I always spin it and say I'm just over enthusiastic, because impatience gets a bad rap, right?
Yeah.
But I think it's really interesting the way that life shows up. And I think that the reality is, unfortunately, most of us grow and learn most in suffering, in pain, in loss, in setback. So we have to be careful what we wish for.
Do you believe in like coincidences or synchronicities?
I do believe in synchronicity. I think I like Oprah Winfrey's definition of luck, which is, she says it's when opportunity meets preparation. And I quite like that, because I'm certainly a man that's prepared. I'm prepared for the good. I'm prepared for the challenges.
Mm.
I'm ready. I'm available. I'm open to possibilities. So it's not often in life where something slaps me around the face for me to then be like, oh, normally I'm kind of poised. I'm nimble. I'm ready. I'm not always as flexible as I'd like to be because I love a plan. I love working a plan. And when things don't go to plan, that's when I find it probably a little challenging. And yet the reality is very little does go to plan. And in the end, how much do we really control?
Yeah.
But I think, this is some of it.
And I'm just thinking, because we met through when you were working with Brains Magazine, and that was like 4 years ago, I think, for myself. And I remember that, and we also have mutual friends in Sweden, of course, as well.
Some great ones, yeah.
Yes, some great ones. Yeah. But would you say, like, because you interviewed, what is it, over 5,000 people?
Mm-hmm.
Wait, that's a lot. I mean, can you, like, is there a common, have you seen any patterns around if they talk about success, for example? Is there any patterns in their stories or, experiences?
When I've interviewed the very top level people, because I've interviewed everybody at grassroots, everybody that's starting out, everybody in between, and those people, like your Jack Canfields, your Marissa Peer, Kevin Harrington, people like that have achieved and are known pretty well in most households in some capacity. I think one of the things that I noticed with majority of those that had a product, so I would kind of caveat the fact that if they have a product, all of them knew when to get out their own way, which I find fascinating, because I think a lot of business owners make the mistake of seeing their business as their baby, which absolutely at the start is a great metaphor, to be fair. But it's also a great metaphor that over time, a baby doesn't stay a baby. It becomes a toddler, then it becomes, a child, and then it becomes a teenager. And as business owners, we make the fatal mistake of making the business all about us. And also we get caught in the fact that we're poking it, prodding it, we're over complicating it by thinking we have to keep turning it, moving it, changing it. And if you build it properly, it'll actually develop, grow a voice and an identity.
Yeah.
And I think it's the people at the top that know when to kind of actually let go, and actually when to even sell their company or bring somebody in who can add the next dimension. Because you may be great at raising babies, but you may be absolutely terrible at raising teenagers.
Yeah. That's amazing. Can you relate as well in your business and everything?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting, isn't it, with business, with this. And I don't mean to, my point here is not to contradict myself. I understand what happens here, because I think that there should be your character and your essence in your business. But at the same time, I mean, the one thing that media taught me, especially radio, was the fact that, and even this podcast right now that we're co-creating here, right, and you're hosting, it isn't actually about you or me. It's about the person that's listening. Like, they're the most important. It's the consumer. It's the listener. It's the same in business. You have a product, you have a service. The most important isn't me or you. It's the person that's buying, consuming, and for me, it's the fun part of business is going for the win-win. And some people confuse me when they lose sight of this, when they don't think about the win-win, where they think too territorially, when they think too much about competition. I just find it really interesting when I even just reflect on my own spending habits, right? I'm thinking, nobody has to put the arm around my back. Nobody has to constantly keep pushing the product in my face. if I want it, I'm going to get it. And so the challenge for all of us is to create a business or a product or a service where people say, actually, I want that. And that's what we need. And you can smell the rest of it a mile off, all the marketing bullshit, all the manipulation, the people that are just really care about the money and not actually the business, where people are a number but not actually a human being. Let's go for the win-win. Let's sell a shitload of products and make a lot of money, but let's also do it in a way that actually brings harmony to someone's life, brings healing to someone's life, brings expansion. Let it not just be the fact that you're just excited by the pennies.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
Do you also believe, like, I know you shared that with me, that you are very curious and open and a feeler, which I love because it resonates with me as well. But I can just imagine that your guests on your podcast and your shows and everything you've done feel very comfortable. Can you relate to that? Like, what's been, how can you say, if we put the titles aside and all of that, so who is Mark when you're in your essence, when you're the host of your podcast, the female CEO? We have to talk a little bit about that as well.
Yeah, I mean, often we get wrapped up in our own identity by the work we do. I think one of the best questions here to actually help me answer that, and everybody else to ask this question too, it probably helps by asking the question, who am I and who are you when you're not being useful? Because I think so often, like, we can talk about the things that we do, but obviously we're honing in on the being part rather than the doing part, right? I mean, it is hard sometimes to answer because of the fact that, like I said, a lot of us wrap up our worth in our identity in the work that we do. I know that when I'm not creating and producing and contributing, because contribution's my greatest psychological motivator, and Pernilla helped me kind of really streamline that during her mythology that she uses within her coaching business, right? Being, having contribution as one of my big drivers. I'm a man who has a big heart, and I'm a man who has intuition, and I'm a man who gives a shit. So I do care about people. If I like you, if I feel respected, if I feel appreciated, then I will turn up, for you and go all in. I am selective because I'm one of my favorite proverbs is, don't cast your pearls to swine. So there's never anything wrong with giving. There's nothing wrong with being kind or generous. Where a lot of people make the mistake is giving to the wrong people and not realizing that. And that's where the wisdom and the adjustment needs. People berate themselves of saying, I always get taken advantage of, and so then they think that they need to stop being so kind and so generous. No, you just need to be more wise, more shrewd with who and what you're giving yourself to. And I think, during those conversations, with people, of course, there's different levels how deep I can go with someone depending on their depth.
Yeah.
I had a great interview recently in a studio here in Leamington Spa where I live. That particular podcast for the female CEO hasn't come out yet. But I love that because she was both intellectual and emotionally intellectual. Her premise was both science and soul. And normally you don't see someone who's so heavily scientific being so soulful, but what a beautiful fusion, which actually is beautiful. And I think, for me as a man, I'm very much in tune with my feelings, my emotions. I know who I am. And I think that self-awareness is one of the things that really kind of stands me out within my own skin and purpose and framework, I would say.
Yeah, I love that. Do you think if you would like, I have a lot of male listeners as well, and I encourage more to come in. So what would you say for someone listening who is a male and want to feel more, feel more, and not being so much in the head all the time? What would you like to suggest? Or
So encouraging men how to feel more rather than be in their head. Well, the interesting thing is like, we know that, or I'm a big believer anyway, that our thoughts create feelings.
Yes.
I think that we have to get in the habit more of taking time to reflect, especially when it's uncomfortable, especially when it's difficult, and especially when it kind of challenges maybe our upbringing or our culture. For me, it's interesting because I am a thinker, and I definitely overthink, but I also feel, and a lot of my choices are based on my gut, my heart, brain. Don't override that. If something's off, then I tend to pause. I think one of the challenges as well is ego. I think man's ego is bigger than women's. I think I'm just saying that generally speaking. I think that that's part of the challenges and problems we have on the planet at the moment, is we've got too many men in power with big egos. And it's interesting because I feel like we actually need more women in power to be able to actually bring more peace to the world. Because at the moment you've got a power struggle. And for me, like I said, it's all about the win-win.
Yeah.
It's like, we live on this planet. There's enough to go around. It's like, come on. If we're wanting men to feel more, then they've got to become mindful of the fact that there's the strength in not being in control and the strength in letting go, rather than being wrapped up in the fact that, strength is about, how much territory you have, how big your muscles are. I mean, there's nothing wrong with those, but it's all about, I'd rather have a strong mind than a strong body. But I honestly believe that if you have a strong mind leads you to a strong body, because you realize that you've only got one body, so you want to take care of it. So it's just, for me, getting in the habit as a man of taking time to reflect, to remember that your thoughts create feelings. And so therefore, if we want to feel more, we've got to trust that instinct. And I think the more that you honor your intuition, the greater it becomes. And outside of that, for me, everything is about alignment. And the only way you find alignment is by knowing who you are, what you love, how you're wired. So when I talk to you about my motivation, my psychological motivation is contribution.
Yes.
Alignment and choices become a lot more easier, because unless it gives me an opportunity to contribute, then I'm not interested, because it doesn't fuel me. It doesn't light me up. You're not going to get the best of me. And then I'm not serving those that I should. And we've only got a limited amount of resource, energy, and time. Therefore, the better we become aligned to ourselves, the easier it becomes to align to those opportunities. For me, it makes life a lot easier. I know what's for me, and I know what's not. And good may be good, but I want great. I want alignment over, that's nice. Might make some money from this. but it's the wrong bait.
Yeah.
You know, the amount of people that proposition me with, oh, I've just launched this in the UK, or would love for you to get involved in this and that, you can make great money. Wrong bait. It's like, give me an opportunity that gives me a chance to contribute.
Yeah.
Now I'm more interested.
And how would you, I'm just thinking, or no, my intuition is telling me, like, is that part of when you shared now with the ego and the men in the world, but also the female part, when you started the Female CEO podcast, is that your way of contribution, like to actually invite more women, or how was it that it started for you, that you know?
Yeah, I mean, there's probably a number of factors. I think, firstly, I was writing for the Female CEO. I was writing for Tricia Scott for about 5 months. I've always been a big advocate for women in business. Most of my clients have been women. I think most of the people that have read my books have been women. I mean, one of my mantras is you go where the love is. I think for me, it's like when you feel seen and you feel accepted and welcomed and appreciated, then for me, it's a lot easier to plant yourself in those areas.
Yeah.
A lot of women that I've worked with before, they wanted to work with me again. So for me, it was something that was quite natural. I believe that gifting makes room for you as well. So I believe that the more that you honor your gift, the more your gift honors you. I really see that. It's like when you are using what God's given you, then you find that you actually become more accustomed to using it more, and people creating space for you to use that because they see. For me, it's about the win-win. Me and Tricia have a great working relationship where we're aligned. I guess interestingly, there's no divide in my brain. Like when I look at a woman, I'm not thinking that's a woman, that's a man, or even with race, I don't look at someone and think they're black, they're white. I'm just looking at they're a human being. They've got a mind, they've got energy. Everything's about energy for me. And for me, it's kind of just having a natural desire to support, to create, and I think that there's probably a number of different parts that I probably don't even know. I think that typically speaking, for most people, most of our challenges or pains that we've had normally have come from the opposite sex.
Yeah.
Not always. I mean, there's only two sexes in my eyes, so it's like 50-50 split. So for me, it's, not strange that there's probably some opportunity there to heal and to paint a different story, both for me and for the women that have been in my life.
Yeah. I'm also thinking, like, I don't know, but hearing you speak, it's not common that I have met a lot of men that are like I see it as your contribution and your focus on having female entrepreneurs. So even if, yes, you don't see it's a human being, I see the same way, but still, like, the society is what the society is as well. So I just want to honor you because I find that very, like, it's quite big, I would say. It is. And it's needed at this time in space.
I appreciate that. I think some of the challenge here is the fact that I feel like the world is in an identity crisis, and I feel like I feel sorry for my children and my children's children that are to come, and all our children on the planet, because there's so much confusion, there's so many options, there's so much that's almost permissible now that in some ways it's kind of lost some protection, some boundary. The boundaries are not a bad thing. You know, people often think about boundaries keeping things out, but they also keep things in. And I think that for me, my honest viewpoint, especially like 'cause the world's gone mad, right? And I appreciate I'm not a woman. I've never been a woman. I've never had to suffer or be disadvantaged. So I'm mindful of that because I know that that happens. I know that that has happened. We've got history that proves that, you know, when women couldn't vote, etc. And now the world is changed, thankfully, and has become like open and there needs to be more. But I do think that the problem now is, for me, men and women are not equal. And when I say that, what I mean by that is I believe in equality in terms of like things like pay. So if a man and woman do the same job, they should absolutely be equal. So I believe in that equality. But in terms of equality, in terms of what a woman brings and what a man brings, the word is not equality, the word is different. Like when I launched my last book, Mark of a Man, and I had a book launch and I had my book set up on the table, and my friend, she said to me, she said, Matt, she said, do you mind if I just rearrange that a little bit? And I said, no, absolutely, go ahead. You know, and she did. She made a few adjustments. She styled the books differently, laid them out differently. And I tell you what, it was so much better than my attempt. My attempt wasn't bad, but I know when to get out of the way. And for me, this is my attitude towards women, because there's certain things that women do way better than men, and men need to get the heck out the way and let that woman shine. You do yourself a favor, honestly. And it works the other way too.
Exactly what I was going to say.
It works the other way.
Yeah.
And it's painful. I've had it before when I saw a woman trying to park a car, and there was a group of 8 women outside and she was struggling. And I just said to the woman, would you like me to park your car? And she said, oh, that's very kind, thank you. Half of those women were outraged. They were like, why are you letting a man park the car? And then the other half were like, what a lovely gentleman that he could see that, you know, you're in distress and, you know, he was going to sort it out for you. This is exactly it.
Yeah.
It's not because you're not capable, because she would eventually have parked that car.
Yeah.
And this is the bit, this is the wrestle, this is the problem we have. And we're both responsible, because you've got situations where then a man could then tease a woman, say, you know, women don't know how to drive, they don't know how to park, which gets a woman's back up. Or then you have the other side where it's like, you know, we're better than men, we're just as good as men. Like, I don't need a man to park a car. And it's just, and it's just like, come on. Like, for me, this is, so I'm very neutral. I want to help people. You know, it's like, I'll offer. If you decline, then that's okay as well. Like, I'm okay with that. But I've got to be a man. And if I see someone in distress, I'm going to offer. If they say no, then that's fine, right? But this is the bit that gets really difficult. And it's the same, like with identity. The world's gone mad.
Yeah, it's gone mad.
And this is the challenge. This is where we need to have the most discussion and adjustment and hope. Yeah, it's bonkers.
It is, but I also believe, like, just us talking about it, it's what's needed as well. Because I think in the last 2 months, strangers, men, helped me out with my car. I didn't ask for it. They were like, "Oh, have you seen this?" And I was like, "No, something with my tire." And he came and started to, like, he had a machine and stuff. Like, he just helped me out. And I was like, thank you. And then yesterday I was, or the other day, you know, when you're filling in air in the tire, you say that in English? I think so. Yeah. From nowhere, I don't know where he parked his car. There was a man standing and he was just, okay, let me help you. and he just took it, and he did it in a couple of like 2 minutes, and I was like, where did you come from? It was just and then he just, okay, that you're good, I'm walking away. And I was like, wow, okay. But I'm how can I say, I always say yes and to receive help as well because for me it also goes quicker. If I was struggling, it would have taken me more time. So yeah,
it derives really from, I think, your own perceived value of yourself. Because I think when you're secure, I think it's easier to accept help.
Yeah.
I think the idea of, you know, somebody doing something for you that you can do, but actually someone may question, you know, oh, can't you do that? And yet you know you can do it.
Yeah.
So there's that. And then I also think, you know, and for me, it's like, you know, if you're praying or manifesting like blessing and good things to happen, and when someone comes along in your life to offer you that help,
yeah,
absolutely you could do it. But if somebody else wants to do it, then that creates a win-win, because they've offered. You don't have to do it then, because they're going to take care of it for you. They feel good because they've now helped you, and you feel good because you've been helped, right? If you say no to someone who wants to help you, and of course it all depends, you have the choice. Of course, there's always good times to also say no, but thank you. Like, I'm okay with that as well. But I think, you know, like, when you say yes to help, then everybody wins.
Yeah. And with our conversation around like how the world looks like right now, because I don't support I think I received a question if I was a feminist, and like where we are at right now, I think it's gone mad. So for me, it's not that I don't value the purpose from the beginning, you know, with feminist and voting and all of that. It's not that. But right now, the radical stuff, it's not for me, because I truly believe that, like you said, if I want to, for example, if I would like to receive love, and then I'm saying, no, I don't need a man. Okay, that's very contradictory. Do you say that? Like, it's just, so the energy is like, okay, you say you want this, and then you say this. So I truly believe that, yes, of course, women are capable, but to discern when, how do you say, if you're coming from control, then it is a wound. That's how I see it. And then to just sit with that, like, why wouldn't you ask for help? But I don't know. I think I have asked for help. If there's something I don't know, I have always asked for help. If it's a man or a woman, it doesn't matter. You know what I mean? Like, if someone knows something better than me and I can learn and it goes quicker, then I'll ask for help.
Yeah. I mean, I love asking for help, because I'm good at what I do, but I also know what I'm not good at.
Yeah.
And so for me, actually, and I've noticed it because I'm seeing it in my children now, especially my son. He's not afraid to ask for what he wants.
Yeah.
My mum calls me jam pot because she says, Mark, you never seem to pay either for anything, or you end up not paying the same as everyone else, right? And for me, it's quite funny, but a lot of the time, it's because I ask. And it's like, you know, some people would say cheeky, and you know, I am cheeky, but I also am prepared for somebody to ask of me that which I ask of them. I think that's always a good But for me, it's like sometimes when you've got this energy of doing good, being generous and kind, I actually notice that people like to be generous and kind with me.
Yeah.
People like to give me an upgrade. They like to upgrade my hotel, and when I get on a plane, like it happens often. It's like people like to give me free dessert, which is probably not helping me because I have to run more. But I find that, you know, like just that energy of, you know, the more that you help others, the more they want to help you.
Yeah.
The more that you know, you have that attitude of there's more to go around.
It is.
Oh, yeah.
And also, I mean, then you also know, like, the self-trust is just increasing and increasing, because you know what can you get. And no, I find it also that strangers, I have had like so many strangers help me out without me asking, and it could be these kind of things you're saying or something completely else, which for me, I find humanity beautiful because I choose to see it that way. Then, of course, there is a lot of noise, there is a lot of stuff going on. But for me to be in that bubble and that energy, that's what I radiate. And it seems like, of course, you are as well. And people can feel it.
Yeah. And I think when it comes to helping others, I think if you take your eyes off yourself, because we can all be a little bit self-absorbed. Interestingly, like I am an advocate for being selfish, in the sense of, when I say that, it's so that you come from not a place of depletion, place from, you know, abundance, and when you're taking care of yourself, it's much easier then to look and contribute, you know, to other people.
Yeah.
And so for me, there's an art in being able to read people, to be able to feel and see without somebody saying or somebody showing you what's going on. Like there's a knowing, because once you've practiced that within yourself, once you've been obedient to your own senses, feelings, reflections, it becomes a lot easier to know when somebody's off. I've always been fascinated by the fact that we all have a pattern of behavior. And it's funny because some people are like, oh no, like, Mark, I know that you can see through me, or, you know, it's quite funny because often I'm not even assessing or analyzing someone, but it's just a natural thing for me. And I think when you have that also creates a situation where you become more helpful to other people without them having to ask.
Yeah.
Like, there's just the knowing. But if we can all do this more, how much better the world would be.
Exactly. Yeah. Okay, let's go into a little bit about spirituality. What does spirituality means for you?
Yeah, it's an interesting question. I believe that the spirit world is as real as the physical world. So I do believe that. I've seen it. I've had my own personal experience. My background and my upbringing and my own personal journey have been very much kind of led and grounded more in Christianity, which, again, when you think of Christian, you think of Muslim, you think of Hindu, or any of the main religions, that's kind of what you think about. You think about religion, which is a lot about rules, regulations, do's and don'ts. You know, that's how I kind of summarize religion. It's very duty bound, very obligation bound. And for me, spiritual and spirit is none of those things. It's about freedom, liberation, expression, joy, love. It's not about the rules and the do's and the don'ts. I always think that if you love God or love your husband, your wife, your child, we make choices based on that love. So we decide not to do X, Y, Z because of our love for the person that we're connected to. And so spiritual and spirit, there's a sense of freedom and expression, knowing that, at least for me, I really believe that none of us are perfect. We all make mistakes, so you can't earn salvation or connection with God or source or with spirit or however it is for you. It's something that is it's more about community, just like our children. We love our children even when they do wrong. Even when they say the wrong thing, make a mistake, end up pregnant, end up doing something that you don't approve of. Do you stop loving them? No. The love will always be there. I believe that it's the same in our relationship with God. You don't earn it, but it's something that's there. And so, yeah, spiritual is that sense. It's where my gut is, really. It's who I am. It's knowing that when I leave this physical body, Mark Sephton will live on. Like, I remember seeing my grandfather when he died, and I was 18, and it just became really apparent that who my grandfather was no longer there. It's like my granddad is absent, and yet my granddad in his physical body, which is what a lot of us tend to focus on, was still there. But yet my belief and understanding and framework was that my grandfather is no longer present, on earth, but I believe he's present elsewhere, right? And so it's interesting for me, the spiritual. So I guess that's a little bit of kind of how I see it.
Yeah, I love it. Would you like to share a little bit, if someone wants to work with you and also listen to your podcast, and how they can, first of all, how you work with your clients, but also listen to your podcast and get in touch with you as well?
Okay, so typically my business has evolved, and I think that this is one of the keys to business, is you've got to stay relevant. When you lose the limelight, you lose the lion's share. And for me, you've always got to be relevant in business. And we've seen lots of brands like go into administration. My first employer was Woolworths. They were the number one high street shop on the UK high streets. I worked for them in my first job when I was 15. I think they went into administration, I don't know, when I was in my 20s. I left them when I was about 18. They didn't evolve. They didn't pivot. They didn't give people what they wanted. And so for me, it's like my business has evolved fundamentally outside of the interviewing, whether I'm writing articles or I'm interviewing on podcasts. The one thing that I'm working with clients on is all around visibility. So I offer this visibility GPS. So in effect, what happens is, based on my 12 years experience of being in media, I assess the way people are showing up online. So let's say you decided you're going to do my 4-stage package visibility GPS. The first part of that is me assessing your website, your social media, any articles, and I'm looking at your authority, I'm looking at your positioning, I'm looking at your story based on what your main product and who you say you are. And because of my experience in that, I'm able to give you straight shooting, straight talking assessment of how you're showing up. Then it moves into, this is how you should be showing up, and this is the things that you should be saying, writing, talking about, based on my experience of writing for Entrepreneur, Success Magazine, Global Woman, Brains, whatever it is, Female CEO, and then it really becomes also about how you see you. So there's a session there where I'm getting inside your head and looking at your behaviors and your beliefs that have an impact on the way that you are then being perceived, because sometimes there's a little adjustment that needs to be done then. And then the fourth part of that is then you actually do a podcast with me based on this journey we've been on, based on these little tweaks, these little adjustments, so that then you can share your story and have a visibility piece that then does put you in the right spotlight, that will give you the most opportunity to shine, for people to really understand who you are and what you do, right? So that's one thing that I've been doing for about 6 months now. I have clients all over that are interested in that are doing that with me at the moment. So that's pretty much the part that's outside of the writing and the podcasting. And then with the podcast itself, I host 3 podcasts at the moment. One is the Female CEO. The CEO part of that stands for Create, Evolve, and Overcome. So it's not just about women that are a CEO, but it can totally include female CEOs. But the CEO part that we're interested in is, can you talk and speak into the create, the evolve, and overcome within your life, within your business? If you do, then that could well be an alignment piece for you. And then outside of that, I have the Plugged In podcast, which is in the AI and tech space. Partnered with a company called Grit Daily in America. And with that one, it is something that I produce, the podcast, and then they create an article based on that conversation, which goes onto their Smart Tech Daily Smart Tech Daily blog post. So I have that one, and then I also have the Prosperity podcast as well, which also appears in a magazine called International Prosperity Magazine. 3 at the moment that I have partnered with, and I am open to partnering with other brands as well, because I've noticed that, I love kind of partnering with brands that have an audience where I can, like I said, about the win-win. Where I can service their clients and their clients can get visibility and the experience to share their story and for us all to grow and expand.
I love that. So can I have the links as well, and so everyone can?
My website, my personal website is marksefthon.com, and Sephton is Sephton.
Great. So is there anything else you want to share before we end today?
No, I don't think so. Though whenever I've had a podcast, it always comes back to the fact that we only get one life here on earth. Like, we only get one shot at this. There's no dress rehearsals. Like, it is what it is. And I find it fascinating, because if you just look out your window, especially if you're on a high street or in a town and everybody's going somewhere, I'm always fascinated. We're all doing something. We're all going somewhere. Like, I just think, like, if we just pause for a minute and just think about the fact that we've all got 24 hours, each of us, right? We all choose. Some people are killing it. Some people are absolutely having a great life. They're living abroad. They work 2 hours a day. Like, they're doing what they love. They're fit. They have experiences, and of course we all have different challenges. We have different upbringings, and I find it interesting that, people in Africa that have less tend to be some of the happiest people on the planet, whereas some of us that have got everything, some of the most miserable. I think that we have to get to a point where we just give our heads a wobble, that we have a come to Jesus moment, as we say, where it's like just smelling the roses and just realizing that if you're hearing this, that you have the opportunity to grow, to develop, to expand. Don't lose sight of the fact that your race and your competition is actually not to the woman to your left or the man to your right, but it's against you. I think that's where I enjoy can I be better than yesterday, Mark? I'm not here to be you, you know, I'm here to be me. Like, I think that this is something that we really need to grasp. The fact that we only get one life, the fact that some people are killing it, and yet we're like crying over just stuff that's just not actually that important. Like, we have an ability to grow and expand. Let's remember that our greatest competition is against ourselves. That's the yardstick, better than yesterday. You know, I'm a progressionist, not a perfectionist. I meet so many people that are perfectionists. I've never actually been a perfectionist. I have standards. I love things to look good. But for me, I just want to be better than yesterday. Better than yesterday. More healed, more developed, more wise, more mature, more liberated, more free. Like, that's it. That's what it is.
That's beautiful.
Mm.
Thank you so much for
You're
today.
welcome for having me. I've enjoyed it.
Beautiful. Yeah, me too. Me too.
Because you've created that in that conversation and that dialogue and that space in order for you to draw out of me, which I love. So you also have to take kudos for the fact that we've co-created and I've given you to the level that you've allowed me and created that space. So yes, well done to you too.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And for everyone who's listening, if you have any questions or thoughts, reach out, and then maybe me and Mark will co-create something else. But love to hear, especially the last part that you shared, to really pause. It's so important.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.